purpose of an opening statement.
Chairman Neal, thank you for calling today's important meeting. Republicans agree with you. We are in a multi-employer pension crisis. Roughly 130 union-managed pension funds covering over 1.3 million workers are severely underfunded, and they're set to be completely drained over the next decade. But this crisis isn't just limited to these failing plans. When all these plans are considered, less than half the promises already made are actually funded, meaning there's roughly $638 billion of promised dollars for these workers' retirement that simply doesn't exist. They are imaginary. Folks who worked hard their entire life and their families relied on these pension plan leaders to manage the plans responsibly, to keep their promises to their workers. This should be a pretty straightforward task, but instead of delivering on their only obligation, the trustees dramatically overpromised, now can't deliver for their union members. This lousy financial mismanagement is the root of this crisis. This is what we should be focused on fixing. I've been a construction worker, a meat packer, and a sheet metal worker in a manufacturing plant. I know how hard these men and women work. And listen to me carefully. Workers in these insolvent union-managed pension plans deserve a real solution. Unfortunately, this bill today doesn't make these failing plans more stable, doesn't end underfunding, or make them more solvent over time. Forcing hand-picked plans to accept crushing balloon payment loans they can never hope to repay, while putting off the necessary reforms to make them solvent for their workers, that hurts workers, it hurts businesses, and it hurts innocent taxpayers who did nothing to create these failed plans. It is the workers we care about and worry about the most. It was wrong for some elected union leaders and irresponsible plan trustees to promise what they knew they couldn't deliver. Didn't they know every family depends on every dollar in retirement? To be clear, not all elected union leaders and not all plan trustees were irresponsible. But for those who were, it is their workers whose retirement security is now at risk. And what workers in this jam need now is for Congress to come up with the serious bipartisan solution. Today's bill by Chairman Neal is definitely well-intended, but it isn't the answer. In some case, it could make it worse for workers down the road. We can't rely on the same people who created this mess to do the same thing they've always been doing, hurting the same workers they've already let down. Not to mention, this bill attempts to completely reverse the bipartisan 2014 bill that began to address this crisis. Those reforms allowed certain plans to cut benefits in order to regain the solvency, to be able to provide certainty over time. If we are serious about solving the crisis, we should build on this and add other policies to continue to help our union workers. Unfortunately, my belief is we double down on the worst aspects of the current system in this bill. To think the government can fully guarantee pension promises based on a 7 or 8% annual return, that's the same fantasy that got us into this mess. So instead of working to fix what's broken in this system, today's legislation is a pat on the back to irresponsible elected union leaders at the expense of workers' retirement, and it would make the pension crisis worse for those we care about. Kicking the can down the road, it's been tried before. 2006, Congress waived the required contributions for these plans who claimed they couldn't make the contributions. But look what happened. So in 2007, plans were underfunded, $193 billion. Since then, it's tripled. They're underfunded 3 times that much. They're much worse off. The PBGC, the federal insurers of these plans, went from a deficit of under $1 billion then to a deficit of $54 billion. Think about that. They were losing, in effect, $1 million. Now they're losing $70 million. That's how much worse it has grown. Workers deserve better. We should be working to ensure these plans make good on the promises to everyone in this room. This means eliminating the various gimmicks many of the plans currently use. We have to accurately measure the pension promises in the same way insurance companies do in making them, so we can count on them, so you can count on them. Additionally, we have to focus on accountability. A promise is a promise, and companies need to be on the hook for every pension promise they made to workers. And finally, we need to prevent severely underfunded plans from digging themselves into deeper holes, which will only hurt our union workers. What this means is we got to wall off the contributions to fund new promises. Those promises we worry will be broken, instead of perpetuating what looks like a Ponzi scheme under which retirees are paid out of the contributions that are supposed to fund new benefits for the younger workers. That's double counting. That hurts everyone. In truth, the underlying problem for these plans is severe mismanagement. It's not unforeseeable market circumstances. We know that because pension plans for single businesses have fully recovered from the financial crisis plus more. Chairman Neal is absolutely right to bring this issue forward, and we applaud his leadership. We may strongly disagree with this proposal, but we are committed and willing and serious about coming together to help these workers, our union members, our neighbors. So let's start over and work together to develop serious bipartisan reforms for retirement security. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.